I think the watchword for the United States in the Middle East for decades has been stability, because stability has been the prerequisite for our ability to pursue all those other things that you listed. But I would say for the United States as a global power, for the United States, given its alliance relationships and given its investment in the institutions of global governance and the global economy that we helped to establish, probably our primary interest has to remain the stability of the world economy, which is dependent on the free flow of energy out of the Persian Gulf, largely out of the Persian Gulf. That has a whole lot of cascading effects on our interests in the region. Along with that, yes, there are still actors in the Arab world, particularly al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, who are determined to continue trying to attack the American homeland and American interests abroad. And so, yes, countering terrorism has to remain a core, top priority U.S. national security interest. How we go about pursuing that interest has changed a lot over the last 3 years, and I think will continue to evolve. So even though it ranks extremely highly on our priority list, it may not have as many implications when you're reliant on drone strikes, for example, as it has implications for our regional policy as it has when you're engaged in operations on the ground, just to give you a small taste.
And to add, I mean, I think answering that question is very much dependent on perception. If you talk to U.S. policymakers, they'll have their own perception of how to rank U.S. interests. My perception is actually probably quite different. So it really depends what each individual person or bureaucratic element sees as more important. That differs depending on where you are in the U.S. government. But I do think more generally, Tammy is right. Stability is and was the ultimate objective. But it's interesting how I think we went about pursuing stability in absolutely the wrong way for many decades. And I think our U.S. policy was based on a fundamentally misguided assumption that the way to get to stability was through supporting pro-status quo autocratic regimes. And we've had to pay the price for that miscalculation, and we'll probably pay for it for many years. And it's not as if this was a secret. I mean, I think all three of us, well before the Arab Spring, were saying, I think even Condi Rice and Bush themselves, the status quo is untenable. That was the mantra in many places. And a lot of people kept on saying it, but we couldn't change it. There were some efforts in 2004 and 2005, to the Bush administration's credit. They couldn't follow up and keep that going and reversed course. And I think we lost a real opportunity.
I think 40 years of economic stagnation, punctuated by oil price volatility, which has not delivered broad-based growth, and I think that has been in large part responsible for, and has not allowed these countries to take advantage of globalization. I think that is responsible for a lot of the appeals of extremism and a lot of the political consequences that we see now. And I would say undoing that, reshaping that should be our priority.
I'll just add one more thing, if I may, without trying your patience, but I think it's important to raise. It's not an issue for this election campaign or for the next 4 years, but it is a long-term issue for the United States and the world, which is the change in global energy markets. The fact that we have these new sources of gas and oil coming online in North America and other parts of the globe is going to change the equation. I don't know how radically, but it will at least shift in some ways the equation in which right now Persian Gulf energy supplies are the center of the global market. And that could have profound impacts over time for how much the United States, or the American public in particular, is willing to invest in guaranteeing the security of the Middle East.